Good morning, Emily. We are at Barra Trail, the course which is followed by the Pikes Marathon that just held its 63rd edition last weekend, and you took, among many of the best runners in the world, fourth place for the women in a historical edition because a 37-year-old record was beaten. How did it feel to be part of that group?
Yeah, the race was really fun. There was a high level competition. Megan Kimmel broke a 37-year-old record, which is really impressive. She ran a really strong race, and
Well, in any case, even though you are American, you have been out of the country for the last 8 years. You've been working at Colombia, at NGO, helping displaced people because of the civil war. What came upon you to go into trail running up to the level that you have displayed today? Because this was not by chance. We met just a few months ago at the South American Championship, the K42, another nice alpine marathon. And there we had also one of the best marathon runners in the world, which is the Italian Silvia Rampaccio, silver at Segama. And you had a nice fight with her. Nobody knew who you were. We all knew Silvana, but finally she won. But what did you learn from that?
I learned I had a lot more training to do. But it was also really motivating because before then I had been only running in Colombia, so that was my first international race and my first race with other international people from other countries. So it was really exciting and really motivating. And then from then I just felt more dedicated and more determined to see if I could push myself more.
Because you have barely been trail running seriously for what, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, about 2 years.
Okay, and then from that, you chose to reappear at a race that had nothing to do with your qualities, which was the Swiss Sierre-Sinal. There was a gallant and suicidal act, but still not that bad because that's probably the only race in the world where trail runners run against sky runners, run against road runners, and run against orienteers. So sometimes you see an African win, a great road runner. Sometimes you see a world champion from orienteering win. And well, what did you learn from that? Because you were fighting to make top 20 among that crowd. Did you finally make top 20 or did you fall behind?
No. Yeah, I mean that was an incredible race. I've never run in a race with that many elite athletes. So, when you race at a level like that, it really pushes you and it teaches you a lot of lessons. So, yeah, it was a good learning experience.
Okay, and you didn't lose heart out of it, and you chose another race right after, which was not according to your characteristics, because Pikes Peak Marathon goes from 2,000 to 4,300 high. Therefore, it's a great race for Coloradoans, as Megan Kimmel and Dakota Jones proved,
Yeah.
or for people which are specifically, let's say, acclimatized to altitude. That was not quite your case, but still, when the race started and you found yourself among the Salomon Golden Trail Series crowd with plenty of the best in the world, what do you think in those first kilometers uphill?
I felt like the first few kilometers were actually more difficult than maybe the rest of the race. When I started, I sort of had a moment that was like, oh my gosh, can I do this? Like I was really breathing hard, but then I sort of settled into a rhythm and yeah, I mean, it's just uphill, so you kind of just gotta keep focused.
By the time you reached the summit, was your head feeling good or was it dizzy? because it's quite common for many of the runners that after those 2,400 meters climb vertical in barely 2 hours and a half to be quite unstable.
Yeah, I definitely felt confused, and I sort of lost the trail for a second, which is pretty hard to do because the trail's very very obvious. And then at that point I realized, okay, I'm just like confused from the altitude, and I have to keep my head in the game. But yeah, that was the main impact. I didn't feel terribly out of breath. I just felt more like, everything's sort of hazy.
Well, and you fought it to the end, and you found yourself right out of the podium. But what a podium, because at the podium we had Megal Kimmel, historic performance. After her, the plenty of times world champion Laura Orgué. Third was Cristina Cañamares, a local runner that was the defending champion here. And fourth, Emily Schmitz. How did it feel?
Yeah, I was really happy. I was happy with the results.
Okay, and now for people that are not aware of the Golden Trail Series, you have run 2 of the races. Do you think it's really worth it to see how you really fare against the creme de la creme, or because of the atmosphere? What do you think it's most interesting, not only for the elite but for the popular runner?
Yeah, I think both of those aspects are really important, and they've selected races to be part of this series that are, some of the most iconic races in the world. And I think each race has different characteristics, so you're not running the same race just in a different place. You're running a very different race. And yeah, the atmosphere is great. The atmosphere is amazing.
Okay. Well, for those of you who are more interested on how a volunteer working at Colombia for our NGO ended up fighting it out for the podium with the best trail runners in the world at altitude, well, read below the personal race report by Emily on how it all came around. Any last words?
No, thanks.